Oh, it's happening. It's happening. We're here. We're
Yeah.
finally here, man. After
I
it's been
wait.
a what?
I want to do something. I'm sorry.
That's a big water bottle. This is a big ass water bottle.
1.5 liters. I don't know how many gallons
That's
that
you
are.
gotta stay hydrated, man. I
Mm.
mean, to be
I have a
fair.
second one here.
Wow, wow. You're super
I'm
prepared.
prepared, bitch.
You're prepared for this, man. That's awesome.
I'm a little nervous to be honest,
You're a little
but yeah.
nervous. Is I'm
Yeah,
just
I never did something like this before, so.
What's going on, everyone? I'm Thunder. This is Spittle. Finally getting Spittle on the show. I'm so happy about this. Spittle is currently running Ocarina of Time. He has a 2 hour, 0 minute, and 26 seconds. 2 hours and 26 seconds in MST. He's number one in Germany, and he is very quickly climbing those global leaderboards. He also just recently got a world record for it's an individual level record for Ocarina of Time for the Spirit Temple. All right, so we're gonna get into MST and we're gonna get into the IL world record. We're gonna get into some of the stuff that you've been running, but first let's just talk about. Why don't you just introduce yourself for the people who don't know you?
Hmm. Yeah, so I'm Ramis or Ramis. People know me as Spittle or SpitleSan. It's like my full name. But most people just refer to me as Spittle. I started running MST in early 2020, and I started practicing in late 2019. But because of school, I had to like take a lot of time practicing. But when I started playing on my Twitch channel and doing my first runs, I actually went way more into it and started, as I said, like 5 days a week, um, 6 to 8 hours a day. Uh, yeah. So
For sure. I
since
mean,
then, yes.
no, yeah, I was just gonna say. I think it's really interesting that um, because you haven't done a lot of defeat Ganon or kind of categories that you would. I would say that MST isn't a traditional category that someone starts out with. What really drew you to MST? What really got you into it? Because I think it's a really interesting category. It's also a very, very difficult category.
Hmm. So at first I wanted to learn all dungeons, and that's kind of MST. Uh, but then I don't know. I like looked into it, and it wasn't really for me. I didn't like the run too much. Like no hate against the run, it's really cool, but it wasn't really for me. Then I looked into GSR, and that's actually, if you want to start out, that's a great category. But to be honest, I watched the run and I just couldn't like finish watching it. I didn't think it was like really entertaining to me.
Yeah,
The obstacle was like weird to me, to be honest. It's a really great category, but again, that just wasn't for me too much because of the obstacle. But I really like the all dungeons aspect of all dungeons.
yeah,
So I looked into MST. I heard about that. Um, and since MST stands for Medallions on Trials, it's all dungeons plus you do the trials at the end, which I found like really cool. You don't really do that in runs, except in
right.
glitchless and in MST.
Yeah,
So I looked into the rule set and the run itself. At the time, the record was 152 to 41, I think, by Marco, and I found out, oh, you don't even really do item generation slash manipulation in that run, which I find pretty cool. So you have like a lot of stuff that is just like you get what you see pretty much, if that makes sense.
no, yeah, for sure.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, you don't like catch bugs and then you have 5 items in your pause screen. You just have you do go out of bounds, enter loading zone, and then you are in the boss fight or whatever of a dungeon, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So, is
So
it in a
yeah.
way? Is it kind of traditional? Like, obviously, it's very not traditional the way that you move around, doing you know, some things as adult that like casually you normally do as a child.
Mhm.
But does I totally get the kind of it's definitely item manipulation. GIM is like, it's kind of new territory, you know? Like, certainly for me, going from playing on emulator and doing Kakariko route to like having just recently changed to VC and learning GIM, it's weird to like, you know, do this out of bounds trick, vine grab, you know, while you're diving and get an item, and then go to a chest, and then all of a sudden you got a bottle of blue potion. It's interesting, right? So would you say that MST follows a slightly, like what you're saying about, you see the item, you get the item, right? Do you like, is that something that you really like about the category?
Yeah, and another aspect I really like about that in particular is because you don't really do item manipulation, the category stays as a whole, I guess. So the route doesn't really change. Maybe some tricks come into the route or in the run itself. Actually, like 8 months ago or something, early bow was found where you can, in Forest Temple, you can get the main item really quickly, the fairy bow, with performing a certain trick to like get on the second level, so you can just get the item pretty much. Yeah, it saves 52 seconds. That's like, it's actually pretty funny. Every year we found something that saves like 50 seconds or like 20 seconds. It's always 50 or 20. It's pretty funny.
Really?
So yeah, at least when I started out, it was like that. Yeah.
Now, you're saying when you started, the record was around 152. Obviously, it's been improved a little bit. But did you ever think that when, I don't know if you watched that run in its entirety, but did you ever think that when you started that you would now be 8 minutes, you know, within reaching that milestone?
So actually the 152 was the most optimized record in MST ever.
Really?
Marco was 2 minutes off his sum of best, which is insane for a 2 hour, almost 2 hour run, right?
Right.
So, and he did a 30-second mistake after like 30 minutes. So he actually almost got a run that was 1.5 minutes off his sum of best in an almost
insane.
2 hour run. That's insane.
Yeah,
yeah.
Absolutely.
So every other record is about 3 minutes off. It's always something around 3 minutes actually. But that was just outstanding, you know?
Yeah.
So imagining you're 10 minutes or even 8 in that area, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't really imagine that. That's why sub 2 is such a big thing for me, because I never really imagined to be like, oh, I can get sub 2, you know?
Yeah.
It was almost like maybe I'm insane and I get world record, but that was like, I don't know, like jokingly said, I guess. I always wanted to get like sub 210 because it was the German record.
Yeah.
And I was joking with friends before I started out. Like, oh, look at him, I'm gonna beat him, you know?
Yeah.
Because Nico Speeds Up, that was the former German world record holder, I guess. He had it, and yeah.
I mean, now you're almost 10 minutes clear of the next.
Yeah.
You're over 10 minutes clear of the next person in Germany. Who right now is Nico. Is that just not totally insane that you're like by far in your country the best MST runner? Like, that's got to be kind of a good feeling. Like, even without world record, you know, like, you're making insane progress. And you said you've been running the category for like how long now?
So I started in January 2020 with my first run on the 3rd of January. So I'm a little bit over a year, like a year and 4 months.
Right.
Of actually almost 5 months, but yeah.
So it's so easy, I think, to reset. And it's difficult to, when you make a mistake, to continue a run. Why do you think most people, and maybe I'm wrong, but do you think most people are a little too hard on the reset button?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think almost everyone is too hard on it because you could always go like, "Hey, my best possible time is not over my actual PB." Like best possible time, if you guys don't know, so you have like the best segments ever, and that put together it creates something that is called sum of best, right? So if you have splits and you, for example, you are 5 seconds off your best segment ever on your first split, then your sum of best gets 5 seconds worse in the best possible time, and then it's like adjusts to your pace, right? So if your best possible time is over your PB and your best segments are like truly good, so you can't improve them realistically, um, then it would just make sense to reset, right? But most people just reset because they are like, oh, I lost like 20 seconds on the first segment. That's just way too bad. I can't PB with this.
Right.
But theoretically, look, you could if you played perfectly. Like it's kind of stupid, but theoretically you could go for that, and maybe you even should kind of. So you
I think that's the question,
I don't know.
right? Is there any reason to reset if you can still PB? Because we talked about this before, how, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, you'll make a mistake early in your run maybe that you just like, you think, oh man, if I like that's going to look really bad in my PB, like that could be a little embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that's just, I mean, if you can PB, like if you PB, you PB, right? Like, I was talking about how I'm not super proud of my current PB in Defeat Ganon, but like number one, that motivates me a ton to get the next one, and number two, still 40 seconds better than my last run. Is
Yeah.
there? I mean, do you think that's just a mental roadblock when people think, do I really want that in my run? When maybe it's only a couple seconds of time loss, and it's just something that looks weird.
Yeah, so I think some people just it's either oh, that's gonna look bad, or this is just a waste of time, you know?
Right.
Like I have 2 hours. I can't waste 20 minutes on my run that I'm gonna finish now for seemingly no reason, you know? Like why should I finish this? I have like 2 hours left. I want to get good runs. I want to have the best pace ever, you know.
Yeah.
That run can finish, but not this garbage run where I lost 20 seconds in the first segment. So, and the other thing is like, um, oh, this is gonna look bad. So I got mostly rid of that, where I think, oh my god, that's gonna look bad, because I had so many runs where, as I said earlier, where I have like this huge mistake, but the rest of the run was actually good. But I realized that it kind of doesn't matter. The only time where I actually encountered that recently was in my was in my individual level.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this gotta be like almost perfect, right? So if I do like a mistake, even if I could still get my goal, I want the goal to be reached, but my mistake should be RNG and not me like messing up, you know?
I feel that.
And then
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I think that speaks to how far you've come as a runner when you're the only mistakes that you accept mentally come down to RNG. And I think that's a really good test of what a developed runner is. But at the same time, like, you're gonna make physical mistakes, and as much as you have the script down for the run and the route, like, dude, shit happens. But
Mhm.
I think that's really interesting what you said about you really want to limit your mistakes to RNG. um, I don't know, I think instaclip or void warp is one of the biggest obstacles for even the best Defeat Ganon no SRM runners, because it is so dependent on the game's RNG with the falling rocks, which are generated, the RNG changes every second. So there is no way to predict or manipulate that. So I think that's a really interesting concept. Was there anything more you wanted to say about that?
Yeah, so the thing is, I don't really like it to just limit myself to that, because for me it's all about my goals. It's not about
Right.
getting the perfect run, because
Yeah.
I find that can be really, really bad on your mental health if you be like, oh, I'm just gonna accept perfect runs. And this is not perfect, reset, because then you're developing this habit of always resetting, and then you never get like this run because your expectations get like way far or way beyond of what is like even realistic. Oh, I lost 0.1 seconds on this easy thing, reset. This is like not a good habit to develop. So I think it's all about the goals. If you can still reach your goal, you should like, and it's like, it's you see, it's like hard because I would say, and it's realistic, but you could always say it's unrealistic. Oh, I lost 10 seconds in the beginning, it's unrealistic.
Right.
But you kind of have to like condition yourself, I guess, to accept more, because in the end, the goal is the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I think.
It's so important to be durable, to be able to accept failure and let that motivate you. Um, so yeah, we're definitely gonna talk a lot about the mental health part and the comparison part and expectations. But first, while we're on the topic of resetting and kind of what that means, so do you find that there's a lot of benefit in doing no reset runs? You see a lot of people, especially, do that in well, I don't know if it's done more in shorter, long categories. I do see people do it sometimes in Defeat Ganon, but I mean, in your category, what do you really like doing some no resets now and there, here and there?
So I like no resets. I like them a lot, actually. So I talked with Richard about that, and I talked with there's a Diddy Kong Racing top runner called Trident Tail,
Yeah, try.
and he does a lot of no resets in a category called All Trophy Races and 100%. It's two categories, and he does a lot of them. And the concept behind that is, you could say like, why should you do a no reset? It's not a PB. Like what? But the concept is that you train, that you finish a run, and that you develop like your consistency. Like I'm consistent either way, if I'm on PB pace or not. Obviously, you have your adrenaline and everything on your PB pace. You maybe perform better or worse, but like it's a good way to train and to condition yourself and everything, because that's like kind of practice too. Like we
Absolutely.
practice before runs or after runs,
Yeah.
depends on how you do it. But we practice, and if you finish a run, it's good practice, and you are in the scenario,
You
like
finish
you
through
are
the end
in the
game.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the best way to practice, because you are in the moment right now.
Right.
You can't simulate that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Is the best way to practice is to have all the variables, as many variables as you can when you're actually going to be doing a run or on PB pace there, right? You have a timer going, you're doing splits. But it's definitely unless you PB or unless you have a really really good run, you know, you're most likely going to not reset when usually you would, right? That's the whole point of doing a no reset run. So it ends up being really, really good practice. And I've definitely started doing more. I do a lot more practice than I used to do, and it's really helping me. But I've done a couple no reset runs here and there, but I should really do more. I think it would be good. Obviously, in a longer category, you can't really do this every day, but to do a no reset in a shorter category like Defeat Ganon, no SRM, before, just to do one that takes 20 25 minutes, whatever your level is currently, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It doesn't take up that much time, and you're simulating the whole thing, right? You're going from the beginning game to all the way through the end game, and you're getting all the muscle memory, all the repetition that you need for the actual run. So I think that's definitely it's definitely something that's undervalued. No reset runs, and it can. I think people meme about it a lot, but it's great practice. No, keep going.
It's not just about the practice, in my opinion. Like, it's strengthens your mental health as well, because maybe it sounds stupid, but you are like, damn, I finished a run. Like, I played through the game, or I played through my category, and that's kind of a good feeling. Like, you are done, and then you have this kind of feeling in your head that you're like, when did I finish the run? Oh, today.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. It's confidence.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So it develops confidence. That's a good way to put it. I actually do more no reset runs now than I used to. I try, especially because I'm going really hard on that sub 2 grind.
Yeah.
I try to get a no reset like almost every day. I have some days, dude, where I'm going crazy, and I have like a run that gets to the first like 3/4 of the, or like last fourth, I guess, of the run, and then I'm just like, yeah, let's finish this, and then I get another one that gets to the half, and I want to finish the stream, but it's like kind of weird. I don't want to start a new one,
right?
So I'm just gonna finish that one, and then I have 2 finished runs in one day, which is like crazy.
That's nuts for a 2-hour speedrun. Yeah. So going off of the mental health and the confidence, let's talk about comparison in speedrunning. And now, when we're talking about comparison, for this kind of comparison, we're talking about, now there are a couple different kinds, but I think it's good to start off with comparing yourself to other runners. So comparison is just, I think it's a part of human nature. I think we're always going to look at other people doing things similar to us, but I can't tell you how many times I've watched Richard or Torj or Weather or any one of the top Defeat Ganon no SRM runners and just said, wow, is it even worth me doing this? What am I accomplishing compared to these guys? So I definitely want to know what you think about that. I mean, you're running against, and it's even weird to say you're running against, but the world record holder in MST, Marco, he's widely considered as one of the best Ocarina of Time runners, one of the best Zelda runners ever. So, what is your perspective on comparing yourself to other people? I mean, I would assume you think it's probably not very healthy, but there may also be some other tangents to that, some other perspectives. So what do you think?
So I think it's hard to it's tricky to talk about this, because Marco is one of the greatest of all time. I would put him definitely up there, top 5 best Ocarina of Time runners in general. He's just there, you know.
For sure. I agree.
And when someone like that is on top, and you could say I'm 16th, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I think I could like rise to ranks even more right now. And after sub 2, I want to do pro strats, so I could go even harder and get like top 5 and everything. And eventually go for the world record, which is my goal. It's really hard to not be like, oh, look at him, he's so awesome and cool and everything, and he has all his fans. Oh my god,
Yeah.
So they seem like gods, but like in the end, they are just humans like you and me, and they are not doing this for like 20 years,
Right.
And it's not like they do it for, even if they do it for 5 years, like the game changes, and the whole skill level that you can accomplish in a short time because of practice tools and everything changes, and all this kind of stuff that just changes over time and gets better and better optimized and more optimized, so you can get more quickly even better at the stuff you're doing. And I find it inspirational if I watch people like that. I saw count his world record is 112 in GSR that he got like the other month, and that's like insane. He goes for strats, or in that record are like strats that are so hard to do. And when you're like a new runner, you can't even grasp that, but that's another topic. But I just find it inspirational because I'm like, okay, like that's possible to do, and I feel like I could do that if I like practice enough. But you could definitely put yourself in a spot where you're like, why am I even trying? But I think with like every day and with every practice session, even if this sounds like weird, you're getting better, and you're grasping more of the game.
Yeah,
you know.
Sure.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think you are just getting like better every no reset you're doing, every practice sesh, and I feel like eventually you're getting there, and you're getting the speed and getting the consistency, and maybe you're even better than they are eventually. Yeah, and I just find that good. But if you're comparing yourself and be like, oh, he's so good, I'm the worst, that's just not healthy. If you're not seeing it as inspirational and not and you see it as like demotivating and everything, maybe actually you should just maybe this sounds weird, but just don't watch them because it's like you're not doing good for yourself, you know. It's the same if someone starts and he's 3 months into the game and he has a better PB than you, and you're playing for 6 months, but you always don't know what's behind the curtain, you know.
Right.
You don't know what's up. Maybe he is actually like a pro gamer in League of Legends. You don't know. I mean, in that case you would, but like maybe there's like master in League of Legends. I don't know. Or maybe he's like
well, for example, like Torj is I think he's master ranked in Apex. Like he's one of the best Apex players. Well, he's not not like professional, but yeah, right.
And I think before he was speedrunning, he did like all that kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's like one example. And maybe it's not even games, maybe it's sports, but even with sports you develop a certain way of thinking about stuff. You know how to like compete with other people, so it gets easier with that. And you don't know, maybe they can actually go full time and you don't. So they're putting in like 10 hours a day, but they only show 6 on stream, but 4 they're practicing and doing segmented speedruns.
Right.
But you don't see that. Or maybe you're a little bit like you have mental health problems, or like you actually have a disease. Maybe they don't, you know.
Yeah,
and
right.
Sometimes or another that's more than it seems to be. That's counts more as it seems to be, you know.
Yeah.
Like if someone has depression and the other guy doesn't have anything,
huge difference.
That's a big thing. Yeah. So comparing yourself is always not good, because every human being is like different. And if it's without ego, if you're just comparing yourself in a matter of, oh, he does this, that's cool, I'm gonna try this, and then, oh, I got it, I'm cool too, you know. It's like that's a good way of comparison. But if you compare yourself with, oh, he does it for 3 months and he has a 19xx in defeat Ganon, I'm doing this for 6 months and I'm having a 20xx, it's not really like it doesn't really add anything, because it's not going to like change anything. you know.
Right.
You'll not certainly be like, oh, I have 18 now. Like, no, it's like you're just hurting yourself, kind of.
Oh
That
yeah,
makes
for
sense.
sure. I think especially when you first start speedrunning, or if you
Hmm.
right, like most of us began watching these guys and we're like fans. I think it's normal, and I think it's okay to, maybe be a little bit jealous or to compare yourself. When I For a long time, and this was a tough time for me, baseball wise. I had just left school where I was playing baseball, and so whenever I'd watch baseball on TV and I'd watch the MLB, I would always just be jealous. I'd be like, man, like they made it, like I blew my opportunity. They're like living the dream. But
Oh yeah.
I think I think you have to get to a point in terms of speedrunning, and it's different in other things. Well, it's not that different, but there's a level of maturity and security. And so in speedrunning, if you want to be, if you want to be, if you want to stay in the community and you want to thrive in the community and make connections, um, I think it's great to watch people speedrun, no matter how good they are. If it's Richard and he has a 1644 defeat Ganon, it's great to be supportive. If it's someone else and they have a 30-minute defeat Ganon or whatever, it's great to be supportive. But you have to get to a point where you can be supportive, and you were saying this, be supportive and appreciate their skill and their talent without internalizing that and comparing that to yourself. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Like that's the thing with ego, right? That's kind of what we talked about earlier. Like you if you add ego to your comparison, and it just gets messy, you
Yeah.
know. It's just like you're getting self-conscious. It's I don't know, you're just feeling bad, you're getting in your own head. Maybe you're even doing runs and you're like, oh, he does my enter deku in defeat Ganon. He does that in like 558 and I'm getting consistent 601s.
Right.
You know, yeah, so yeah, it, it doesn't change anything, it just hurts you. And but if you're saying like, oh, he does that, so I'm gonna practice that, and now in 2 weeks I'm gonna have like a 150, maybe 158, maybe even 156. You know, maybe you're going crazy, and you're getting even a better time. That's comparison without ego. That's the
Right,
difference right
exactly. And
there.
that's healthy when you're learning, right?
Yeah.
To learn from these guys who have already mastered a lot of the fastest strats, that's fine. You take someone. I was telling you about Smash, how he was trying to teach me a quicker.
Oh yeah.
He was showing me his PB and like that strat, and like there's just he was right. Like I was viewing that. I mean, obviously I watched his whole run, and I was impressed, but for that segment, I'm looking at the setup and the inputs, right? I'm looking at the actual strat, um, without really taking anything else into consideration. And so
Mm.
that is healthy learning as opposed to involving your ego in comparison. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about the whole this whole world record thing, this whole skill ceiling, this talent, the gods of the game, right? Who we view.
Mhm.
I mean, there are some guys that you watch, and you look at their sum of best and their PB, and even sometimes when I just watch, sometimes it's like I just ask how. Like I don't understand how
Yep.
you get to a level. Even just like I don't know. Sometimes when I see guys like turn and target or just do things so quickly, so instinctively, it challenges for me, it challenges the idea a little bit that anyone can get a world record, because we look at these guys at just so far above everyone else, and not necessarily everyone else, right? I mean, most records are pretty tight and whatnot, but do you really believe that, within reason, someone who has a passion for speedrunning, if they practice enough, they can get to a record level skill set? Or do you think it could be just some guys could just be inherently better, right? Like, I mean, you look at Danny and his just domination of the leaderboard. Like, he's just so good at everything. Like, are certain guys just born with a more, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to dig it out, because I mean, genetically, some people could have like better hand-eye coordination or reaction time, but I don't know. What do you think about that?
I really think that if you do it right, everyone can get a world record. And what I mean by when you're doing it right, when you're getting to a level where you change your mindset to a certain, or develop your mindset to a certain level, where it's just, you don't add ego to it, you are just playing the game to have fun, even if this sounds weird, but if you do it like that, you don't get upset about the game, you can keep it calm and everything, you practice the right way. I think everyone, as you said, within reason, can get a world record.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, I saw Johnstone doing all. Johnstone actually did a really similar route to mine.
Yeah.
The only thing he didn't do is like, in my MST route, or in the route I'm doing, it's not my route, I guess.
The Spittle route.
Yeah. Yeah, it's called Nairoslav route, because that's like a route where you got Nairoslav, it's as easy as that. And that's a route where you get the tunic and we don't get the tunic, right?
Right.
So Johnstone, for his world record back in the day, it was like 10 months ago, but yeah, he didn't get the tunic because it's faster. That saves like 50 seconds or 40 or something. So that's the only difference. And so when I saw this run, everything with that I could do in my route, and I just watched it. I was like, oh my god, that's so good. How is a person so good at the game? How does that work? And and I had the same thing with Cruxa. Like, if you don't know him, he's I think 5th right now in MST. And he is really good at glitchless too. He's a really good player and a really good guy.
A great player.
Yeah. So I watched his time, and he does the exact same route that I do. And his strats are not that similar to mine, but like 60% should be similar, or like 50 or something. So I watched both of those guys, and I was just blown away. Like, when I first learned that route, I was just, dude, I can't do that. How? And then I just kept going. I kept practicing like 1 to 2 hours before runs every day where I did runs. I did my segment in practice every once in a while, like every other week. I did like sessions where I went for like, okay, I'm gonna practice the segment for 2 hours. I just kept going, and then I got better goals than Cruxa at some points. Like, at some segments I got better goals. And I was just, dude, I actually did it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I didn't bop him. I didn't bop him. I didn't get a better sum of best in general, but just some segments were better than him.
Right. It's possible to yeah, like we were saying before, like, it is, like, if you do put in the practice, like, you can get, maybe it's not the whole picture, right? Maybe you don't have a completely better time than him, but there may be some segments where you're getting there, where you're getting to that skill level, right?
Yeah, and for me, that's a sign that I can do it. If I can do one segment, I can do the full segment.
Yeah,
I can do the run.
Yeah.
So, and it's not even like okay, my first split, let's get that as an example. My first split was like better and the rest was just way worse, like 20 seconds worse. No, I was actually like, my segments, actually I compared my goals, my best segments to his PB segments, or the PB, the segments in different PBs of him that were the best. So I could compare that way because that's the only segment I can see visually. I can see his best segments because he didn't upload it anywhere.
Right.
So I was just looking at that, and sometimes as his, like I just got his goal time, so I have like a comparison. But I got like really close to his normal segments, and I beat some of his goals, as I said earlier, and I was just so happy because every single one of my splits was within like 5 to 10 seconds, maybe even less, of his PB segments, and that's just a great feeling. With Jordan Stone, he's a big fan of YOLOing setups.
Yeah.
Where we have some movement tech we can do, or like turnaround tech, so it gets really specific angles. But Jordan Stone loves it to just YOLO it, and like for example, we really carefully go to the right, and then we do a backflip or something.
Yeah.
And he just flicks right, backflip.
Yeah, right.
Like yeah, and that saves like a half a second or something. And if when you see that, you're like, he goes for that.
And then,
you
it's
know?
like, how does he actually have the confidence to like maybe jeopardize his run to save half a second and like do that, right? I think about that even in Defeat Ganon. Like there's like for example, you can kind of YOLO the B1 jump, the tsundere jump. Something that's a little bit less risky is when you're doing re-enter to do the jump slash in Deku Tree to do the B1 skip. Like I do a shield turn, right? So when I re-enter the Deku Tree, I hold R and right, and then I let go of R and redo it, and that turns me exactly 90 degrees. Mm-hmm. So I know that I'm just turning right. But a lot of guys, or a lot of runners, when they do the re-enter, they'll just like run a little bit and then turn, like without targeting, and then target, and then do the side hops. And I'm like, I don't, and then do an unbuffered frame perfect jump slash in the hole. It's like, cool. That's cool. Nice.
But that's the thing I mean.
But it's like, we can get there, you know? It's like they got there. Like, everyone started somewhere. Like, I think I'm starting to finally understand that, like, that's just, it's not impossible. Like, there is a path to getting there, you know?
Yeah, it's not just insanity that they go for that.
It's a method.
It's actually like as you said, a method behind the whole thing. Like, if they don't get it at least like 70% of the time, they won't go for it, you know?
Right.
I mean, maybe if it's in the first like 10 minutes of the run, or like in your case, maybe like 7 minutes or something.
Yeah, sure.
And it's not really consistent, you know, it's like 30%. Then they would go for it, but otherwise no.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can just be so precise at your inputs that you can actually get an 80% consistency on stuff that is for a beginner really crazy, because they are not used to doing so precise inputs. But as I said earlier, over time I developed the same thing. Like there's this Zelda lullaby song that you can get, right? And there's always a cutscene that plays, and you can skip that by doing a certain setup with like turns and everything. And as I said earlier, I did it as you described, with like the shield and then right and repressing shield, so 90% thing. And Jordan Stone just flicked right and went for it, right? And that's 20 minutes into the run, where I'm in my run, which is 2 hours long.
Yeah.
So, right. But I learned that someday, and I just stick to it. Yeah. And that's just one example, but that's a really easy example I can give, where I thought, okay, that's crazy, I won't go for that, but now I'm just like, okay, I'm going for that flick, and you know, and that's really cool and gives you self-confidence and everything because you know, okay, I really can get there.
Yeah.
And I heard Richard Sage talk about this like a year ago or something in his Defeat Ganon speedruns, where he was like that. What I love about speedrunning is that, in comparison to other sports, it's not really about like who's given and who's not, because almost everyone can in the end get the world record. And when he said that, my heart was just
he is so good at doing that. He's so inspirational. Like, it's actually crazy. Yeah. He's so like mature, and he has such a good perspective. Like, I learned so much, and I got so much from when I did this with him. Like, he's just such an incredible person. But yeah, he'll say certain things, and I'll just see chat, and chat's like, oh my god. So that was just so great.
Yeah, that's really
yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah, so I think we could talk forever about, you know, certain speedrunners and and talent and stuff. I thought it was funny. I was just thinking when you were talking about like comparing the running to speedrunning, like if you ever go for the mile goal, like when you get a PB, you'd be like, oh, that's a gold. That's a gold. That final lap was a gold. Let's go. What's my sum of best for my mile, you know, for like the first part, the second part, the third part, the fourth part.
That would be cool to do, actually. That would be really
interesting. You could. That would be fun, right? You could it would be on your phone. You could do splits for sure. Coaching and speedrunning. It's such an interesting thing to think about. Because I think there are a lot of potential benefits with working one-on-one with somebody who really, really knows what they're talking about. Now, there's also this other side to it where there are already a good amount of resources out there for speedrunning. There are tutorials. Some tutorials are better than others. We talked about that. And Discord. I mean, you can pretty much get any question answered in Discord. Now, that certainly probably wouldn't be as in-depth as getting answers from a coach who you're directly in touch with. So I don't know. What do you think about this? And obviously there's more aspects to it, right? You would have to pay, right? So you know, there's the question of would people actually spend money on it? But anyways, I'll let you have your take on it. What do you think about this whole coaching thing? Do you think it's do you like it? Do you think it's possible? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the current system with all the resources and stuff. I mean, it's good and it helps a lot of people, and a lot of runners got into the game with that, but especially with Ocarina of Time, the game changes so often. Like, I'm saying MST is a stable category, and I mean that by, like, oh, it only changes once a year, right. You know?
Yeah.
And there are not really. It has to be a SRM category. If you don't know, SRM is the biggest glitch in Ocarina of Time. There's a lot of categories where it's banned because it's just, as I said, because it's too big.
Crazy.
Yeah, so there's no SRM and SRM speedruns. And then in the SRM speedruns, every single one of them changes like every 2 to 3 months. It's crazy. And the no SRM speedruns, it's like kind of like MST, some more, some less. But some change like every year. Maybe for some it's like every half year or like somewhere around that, you know.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to do like resources for every time it changes.
Right.
Even if it's just once a year, but because, for example, they're just categories that are not as run, or where the players are like not interested at all in making tutorials. So if you have a tutorial from 2017 from about like MST, you can just throw that in garbage. Like, I don't want to be like disrespectful or anything, but
yeah,
that's just the truth. You can get like a little bit of stuff, like some tricks and the basics. Of course, you can do that, but you can to run the route to learn the route itself. You can throw that away. It's not like maybe the newest route would even be like easier, you know, because the route I learned at first that is much harder than the shit I'm doing right now, to be honest. Not like the strats itself, but the route.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of those resources, and there's just some segments you can't just go in the Discord and be like, "Hey guys, can you teach me 1 hour of the
Yeah,
speed
like
run?"
how do you do you know, like right, like even like a temple, like like I don't know how to go through the forest temple in like all
Yeah.
dungeons or a cat or you know, in MST. Like right, you might need that. You might need that, but you're not going to get that. You know, unless there's a whole tutorial on that. And even if you have that, you might not be getting the full thing. So, you know, only if you have somebody who is willing to walk it through with you are you actually going to get a grasp of it quickly. You might eventually get a grasp of it. You might eventually understand the strats and the route, but it's going to take a lot longer. It's not going to be easy. I mean, not even if, you know, nothing in speedrunning is easy, but it's very difficult to learn a big chunk of a run, you know? I mean, there are certain, you know, there are certain glitches that, you know, have inputs, and once you learn the input, like when somebody tells you the inputs and what they're holding and whatever, it's okay, but that's just such a small part of any category, you know?
A good friend of mine, Lake OT, who I did a charity run with on the launch party marathon that was this year, like 1 month ago or something. Because I didn't, still don't run the route. He does, or he did for the marathon. He taught me some strats he does, and the biggest strat, it's called Jabu Wrong Warp, where you use the blue warp and Jabu to wrong warp to the Dongo's cavern, to the second, from the third child dungeon to the second, because in the speedrun we do them out of order and stuff. So you just wrong warp from Jabu to the Dongo's cavern, and I was really scared about the trick. I was like, okay, if I'm gonna learn this route, that's gonna take me days. I wasn't sure if it was actually, but then he just said everything I had to know, and he went through it like 3 times or something, and then it clicked. I learned it in half an hour, like no exaggeration.
Yes,
that is crazy.
That's such a good example of how beneficial it is to have someone who's very, very experienced at something to walk you through it, as opposed to pretty much learning it by yourself. Because, you know, whether or not you're using a tutorial or Discord, you're pretty much doing it by yourself, right? Like, I think about, for me, one of the biggest things that I learned lately was Child Void Warp in Defeat Ganon No SRM. And it's a notoriously difficult trick. Even when I would tell, you know, some of the top runners that I was learning it, that would be like, that's hard, good luck, you know? And and it took me over a month to actually get pretty comfortable with it. Now, I do truly believe that if I had somebody, well, and shout out to the people who helped me. Like there are a lot of people who gave me tips, and like Wolke really helped me get started with the basic inputs and stuff. But if I had someone who I was like in a call with, watching me play and telling me what I was doing wrong each time and how to fix that each time, as opposed to me being like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, like, and then getting frustrated, like, why isn't this working? Like, I feel like I'm doing it wrong, and I was doing it wrong. I would have learned it so much faster. It would have been a few days probably. I can't say that for sure, obviously, but it would have been significantly faster. So I do really like I do really like this idea of coaching and speedrunning. I think it has a lot of potential, which is kind of another thing, because just because it's a good concept doesn't mean it's always going to be marketed well. I'm going to be completely honest. I wasn't really that impressed by that. I don't know if you saw like the trailer that GSA put
Yeah, I
out.
saw it.
It was kind of just like SM64 runners failing, and they were like,
Mm.
I don't know. I just feel like it wasn't super intriguing. I think there needs to be some other kind of big pull, some other kind of big incentive for people to actually want to spend potentially big money on a speedrunning coach. But again, I really, really like the idea. I personally would definitely, if it's a big hobby for you, if it's something that you do a good portion of your day, and it's one of your major hobbies, we spend money on our other hobbies, right? That are
Yeah.
big. It's investing is just kind of a part of growing in something, and it's not always money, but money is usually a part. So I think that if it's marketed well, if there are guaranteed benefits, and maybe if it's not super expensive, I think it could totally work. It's just getting the word out, showing people really how much it can benefit you, like maybe giving a good example, like, because I don't think everyone really understands that it can get you from learning a trick in a month to getting to learning a trick in 3 days,
Yeah.
or less, or a trick that may have taken you several days to learning a trick in an hour, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how beneficial that actually is to your mental, to just learning things faster is just better, right? I mean, it gets you going more, right? It increases it decreases the time it takes for you to improve, and that's what we all want, is to maximize our potential in the shortest amount of time. So I'm all for it. I just think there needs to be a good way to put it out and show people how good this can be. Mic drop.
Yeah, no, like I feel that so hard, because I just think it's so good, and I mean, it just adds stuff, it like doesn't take anything from people. I don't want to like argue about this like a lot, because I don't like the argument too much.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm biased and
I don't
I'm on
like
the pro
arguing either,
side,
dude.
and
I don't like arguing either. White people happy vibes.
yeah, no, I'm just on the pro side, and maybe I'm biased. I don't know, but I just think it doesn't like take anything from speedrunning. It just adds stuff.
Yeah.
Because they're like, okay, you can do that. You can don't do it. Like, nobody forces you.
Right.
Nobody is like, oh, you don't have a personal coach. It's
no.
not like that.
No.
Nobody would say that.
Right.
I feel like, or yeah. So I don't. I just think it would be awesome. And I mean, I'm like somewhat or almost I don't know, a top runner. So I would maybe need it. But I would just pay the money if I had to, and if it's not too expensive, which I don't think it would be. So that's the thing, and I just find the concept of it really interesting.
I mean,
And
I've even heard like Weather and Richard say that they would pay for speedrun coaching. Like, even the top runners can get better.
Yeah.
I think it might be a little bit harder to find the instruction at that level. But I think the draw for most people to have someone that would help them get significantly better, significantly faster than they normally would, is there. But I think as much of an outlet as speedrunning can be, no matter what it is, there are some things that can happen that just really throw off our mindset and our focus, and whatever our normal, as long as it's like something healthy, it can interfere with that, right? But if you want, I would like to hear how has speedrunning helped you cope with certain aspects of your life that aren't the best. Do you feel like speedrunning, obviously you have goals and it's something that's competitive, which is nice, but what do you really get out of speedrunning? Like, I have a feeling that most people who speedrun, their main reason that they do it isn't to get a world record. So what is your main drive to do speedrunning? You know, like, what is your motivation? Why do you really do it?
So for me, it's like this thing that you can get better and beat yourself, not beat yourself up, beat yourself in
I knew you say that.
in terms of like beating your personal best.
Yeah.
I just think it's the getting better part and all this stuff, and speedrunning taught me that I can achieve like really great stuff, you know, and that other people can do the same. Being able to think to yourself and talk to other people about how they can do something because they're doing great and they are awesome. That's really I really got that from speedrunning. And like, oh, in fitness, like, oh yeah, I mean I was so weak before I started my fitness stuff that I mean I couldn't do like push-ups. I my whole life I had a really bad spine, so I had like a bad posture.
Yeah.
I mean my doctor said, oh yeah, your back will always look like an S, you know. That's really motivated and helped. Well, speedrunning really helped me to like push further and be like, okay, I can do this. Like I can be fit and I can get the strength of maybe like a superhuman or something, you know.
It's definitely it's really cool feeling when you get, I don't know, like even, I think you always get that, like your first PB, I don't know, just having a time associated with, you know, a game or a category. It's not really something that you ever thought you would achieve when you were like a little kid playing the game for the first time.
Yeah.
By the way, I never really asked you about your OOT history. Did you play Ocarina of Time when you were a kid a lot, or did you pick it up like fairly recently?
I so I played it as a kid on GameCube. We had an N64 and I played on it, but I think my brother had the OT. So not the brother I'm living with. I'm talking about right now.
Right.
I have a
Your older
second
brother.
brother. He's the oldest one. Yeah. He studied medicine in Bosnia, so he was like gone for 5 years. Right now he's back, but in that time he's he's like recently back because he just graduated from his
Interesting.
But yeah, he took an N64 with him and like half of the games, and obviously one of the games was OT.
Yeah.
So I couldn't play that, and he always like lived somewhere else and stuff. So he took a lot of like N64 stuff with him that I couldn't play, obviously. So I just played on the GameCube, and I later on in like third grade, I think, I played on that 3DS, the remake. That's when it came out, like on the first day. My mom was like, "Here, I got you the new game." I was like, "Oh yes, let's go." So I just played that in like third grade. It was really cool. I don't think I 100%ed it, to be honest.
Wow.
But I definitely beat it.
What are we even doing here, Spittle? Not hundoing it on the first go around. Like, Dude, I thought you were a gamer. Wait, no, you know what? I'm really embarrassed to say that I've never hundoed OT. I've been playing the game consistently for 19 years. I've never hundoed it. I'm trying. I have a file right now on VC that I'm gonna do it for the first time, but it's definitely a little embarrassing. But.
I mean, I'm 16th place in MST and I never hundoed it, so you're fine.
That makes me feel so much better. No, okay, it's fine. It's not a big deal. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter, but I mean, I played through it. It was great. I was always like, "Oh, this is such a great game," but I can't. It's just too long,
Yeah.
so I didn't want to beat it. I was always like the MM guy, you know. I was like, MM, such a great game. But I was like, damn, I want to play Majora's Mask fast, you know. I saw these Let's Players. It was like, well, I'm faster than them.
Yeah.
Like they talk all the time, so I could just, you know, be
I could
fast.
just go.
Yeah, and I mean, I did like a run, I guess, even though it was more like a playthrough. It was like, I think 14 hours or something. It was over multiple days, obviously. I didn't just go for 14 hours as an 11-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
Wow, so trash. No, that's cool.
So 14 hours, and the Let's Play was 16 hours, so I beat him.
Nice. I spelled good
yes.
after that.
God gamer.
Yeah.
But then my brother came around and was like, "Hey, there's actually a thing called speedrunning. You can just look up speedrun Majora's Mask, and you have to look out because when it says TAS, it's not a human that plays it; it's the robot." And I was like, "Oh yeah, okay." So I saw the guy run from 12th person.
He's glitchless world record. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, oh man, what is he doing? He's like backwalking all the time. What the hell, you know? He's not even playing the game. I was really thinking. I mean, I was 11 years old.
No, but for sure, like it's always kind of shocking the first time you see speedrunning.
Yes. So I wasn't really into it, and then I tried it, but it was just too long. Like 14 hours is just way too long for like a kid. So I threw that away. I just watched like there was a German channel called 1-on-1 where people where like Let's Players race against each other. They were like kind of fast in games, but
right,
not really,
but
you know?
Yeah, right. I want to know a little bit more about the martial arts because I know that you do martial arts and I know that's one of your big hobbies. So I want you to tell me about that and when you started doing that and why you do it and what you really like about it.
So I do martial arts. Yeah, no. So my big hobbies are just speedrunning and martial arts. I don't really do anything besides that. I play a little bit of games here and there, but that's like because of OT. I don't really play a different game. You know, I played Valorant a little bit and when it came out, and League of Legends a lot before speedrunning. But I kind of dropped all that, and casual playthroughs are. It's kind of weird, but it's not really my thing. So, yeah. I mean, I wish I would be more into casual playthroughs because there are a lot of really, really cool games I want to play through. But I'm not too much into that. But yeah, that's like my only hobbies, I guess. Before martial arts, I went swimming with my brother. And then I was like, okay, I'm finishing my middle school, and I just want to, like, I'm so afraid of people and of people who are like bigger than me.
Yeah.
Or like who just say stuff that intimidates me.
Right.
You know, be like, oh yeah, I should beat you up, and I'm like, oh man, what if he really thinks he could beat me up, and then he comes to me and punches me in the face?
Right. Yeah.
Like I would just collapse and pretty much die at that point. You know.
No, it's scary.
Because
man, people are scary. Yeah.
Yeah. I was really, really intimidated by other people, even if they are just like saying stuff to me and not even bigger than me or anything. and because I'm like a really calm and I guess it's weird to call yourself chill, but I would say
You're chill.
thanks. So, no, I don't have to call myself chill.
Exactly.
Nice. No, but yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't describe myself as like really aggressive, I guess. So so it's really weird to like,
Only when you mess up a trick in a run.
yeah. No, but I don't know. It's like nobody. I didn't think anybody could like be intimidated by me and stuff. So I was just. My brother was training martial arts for 5 years. He was training Muay Thai, but then he stopped because he had arguments with his gym and with the leader of that and stuff. So he just went on from that. He didn't want to continue.
Yeah.
And just swam with me like once a week. And then I walked to him and was like, okay, maybe this sounds weird, but I really want to be able to defend myself because I'm just intimidated and I'm scared of pain, like really, really a lot, or really, really much. I don't know. So I didn't think I could like do it because I was so intimidated by pain. Then I was like, okay, maybe he's like even like touching me, and I'm like, oh, you know. But then he was like, all right, I'm down, like definitely. And then we bought pads for like $50 or something. They came a week after. We picked them up because they were sent to a post station thing. We picked that up, and then we just started, and we went from there. Like we bought more equipment. We are training right here actually. We just
on the couch.
Put everything away. Yeah, on the couch. Yeah. No, we're putting away the couch and like all the stuff that is laying around.
Nice.
And the TV, we're putting that away so it doesn't get damaged or anything. And we have like enough space here to do everything. And yeah, we're training now for like 2 years. So I started when I was 16. Now I'm 18. And we started when I was just finishing middle school, and now I'm just finishing high school. So.
Do you feel like it's made the relationship with your brother even better, even stronger since you guys have been training together?
Yeah, I think so, because he has this really, really deep passion for martial arts. That's his like thing, you know. He says sometimes like, okay, like I think one of or the biggest thing in my life is martial arts, and he is. So it's not just like, okay, I trained for 5 years, so you're my student, and I'm gonna teach you some stuff. He's like really going into it. He watches everything he can find on YouTube that it seems interesting. He tries to like adapt some stuff from other arts in our Muay Thai training. It's mostly just traditional Muay Thai, but you know, if something works better, then why not do it? You know. So yeah, he's really trying to improve because he knows he's not like a pro fighter or something.
Yeah.
So there's to like adapt that with looking up stuff and learning from actual like really, really good fighters and trainers so he can become one. And I think he does a great job, and you can draw a lot of similarities between speedrunning and martial arts.
Please do. Please do.
Because I feel like it's really like some stuff is really similar. If you look at fights and to people who like do their stuff, and you're like, whoa, that's like really similar. I feel like than compared to speedrunning, because if you see like a guy just running through a game, basically, you know, just speeding through it.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, that's insane. And you could say the same about like martial arts with all the stuff you see, like all the conditioning you see and
Preparation,
like all the
practice.
yeah, and all the like physical stuff they can do, or like in Taekwondo uh with all the
Patterns.
like the kicks they do and the stretching they gotta do and everything. It's so insane.
I
The
think
katas.
I just thought about because I remembered when I was really doing hardcore training in Taekwondo, and I just
Mm,
know this as well, is that in order to, and this goes for other martial arts as well, but in order to earn increasing ranks and getting belts, you have to do certain patterns, right? So right, like there are certain patterns that you're taught that have different names, and I think it's almost like learning a trick with a long setup in in a game. So like I feel like there are a lot of similarities I could draw. Like in fighting, right? If you think about like an actual fight, you think about what's important in speedrunning, and it's not just going fast. It's also like being durable, right? Having endurance, pacing, like not really pacing
yeah.
yourself, but like going in a way where you can do it for the entire run. And so, like that's why boxers or whatever MMA fighters, you know, they have to stay. They can't just tire themselves out in one round. You know, um,
Yeah.
they have to think about the long term. And so when you're doing a run, you always have to think about every part of the run, and you think about that in practice, and that's why you practice every part. And that's why fighters prepare with cardio so much,
Yeah.
so that they can last at the end of the fight. So yeah, I think there's a lot of really cool things that you can draw between fighting, in your case Muay Thai, and
Yeah.
speedrunning, right?
Yeah. It's like for me, I don't really talk about this too much because I'm speedrunning on my channel, and
Yeah,
sometimes I feel like
that's why
it's
we're
like
doing this,
not.
man. That's why we're here. That's what it's all
Yeah,
about.
because martial arts is like a really really big part of my life. That is my like my other big hobby. It's like the other big thing I do. So it's it is the thing. I mean, when I take my days off, like I take 3 days off of streaming
Yeah.
mostly, and in 2 of those 3 days I'm training. So um, yeah, it's like when I'm not doing this, I'm doing that, or when I'm having my free time. Oftentimes I just watch stuff, like I watch fights or like other people talk about it because I want to learn more, and I want to like educate myself about stuff, because when you see people fight, it's you actually learn about like fighting and different styles and so on.
Yeah.
Especially, yeah,
No, and I was just gonna say, like, you can connect that to watching speedruns, right? Watching
yeah,
streamers. I think about, like, I watch baseball all the time, and although maybe it doesn't, I don't know. I mean, it may not directly teach you exactly what you're learning,
mm,
but when you're passionate about something, right? It's like watching a speedrunner who maybe is at a much higher, much lower, a different level than you, or even doing a different category. It's still fun to learn things, right? Like about what you're passionate about, even if it's not a
mm,
direct translation, you know? So I just wanted to say that. I thought that was interesting.
yeah. It definitely is. Like I I'm I'm just so I don't know. I'm just so obsessed with fighting and with martial with speedrunning.
Yeah.
And it's like weird because as I said, I'm not like the most aggressive personality or something, but I just really like Muay Thai, and yeah, I just really like to like go off in the sport and really go give it like my everything,
Yeah.
Like I don't want to do it like with
Half-assed.
like yeah, half-ass. That's what I was looking for. I don't want to do it like half-ass. I want to give it my
Yeah.
full, give my
Absolutely.
all.
Because if you
Yeah.
if you don't, you're gonna regret it, down the road. You wanna
Mm.
When you eventually walk away from something, you really want to look back at it and say, I really gave that my all. I really tried my best, you know. All right. This is the best part. This is the best part of the interview, okay? We did this starting with Danny in episode 3. And then we did it with Weather and we did it with Richard. So I'm gonna ask you a few questions about Ocarina of Time. You know, since that's kind of your game right now, and we're gonna see how you do. All right. So we're gonna start off kind of easy. All right. Start off kind of easy, and then we're gonna get more difficult. All right.
I'm so bad with law and everything. If I don't get a single question right, then...
You ready for this? Are you nervous? Are you sweating a little bit?
I'm
stretch
not ready,
it out.
but I'm...
No, stretch it out. Take some deep breaths. All right. We're going to start off easy. Okay? So, there's a mini game in Ocarina of Time that you can do as child in Castletown called the Treasure Chest game. All right?
Mm-hmm.
What item in the game helps you see into the treasure chests to see which has the rupee in them?
Do I just say it? Or
yeah, just say it.
Yeah, Lens of Truth. Yeah.
All right, we are off
go.
and rolling. Let's go. All right. Question number 2.
Mm-hmm.
What are the names of the 3 goddesses?
Din, Ferrore, and Nairu?
Yeah, there you go. Let's go, dude.
Okay.
Come on, bro. You knew that. The Big Goron Sword side quest. There are 2 items. One is a blue chicken, and one is a mushroom. Can you give me the name of one of those?
Is it just Kojiro?
Mm-hmm.
Kojiro. And... Oh, shit. What is the mushroom? I know that.
It's tough because it's not. This isn't part of MST. It's really only Hondo.
I almost want to say it's just weird mushroom or something.
So that's close. It's the odd mushroom.
Oh shit. Okay, well, I was close though.
That was close.
Okay.
That was close. All right. What are the names of the 2 witches who make up Twinrova?
The thing is, I heard all the stuff. And
you knew I was going to ask you a question about Twinrova and Kotake.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought about that, but I definitely.
All right, I have one special question that I do not expect you to get, but I think is funny.
No.
This is just more so educational.
Okay.
How long is the Muay cutscene?
Oh, no way. No.
What? Do you know this?
No. So, okay.
What?
Okay, I woke up today and I thought about this, okay?
What do you mean you woke up and you thought about this?
Yeah, I thought about what questions is he gonna ask me, you know? And I was like, what would be a good question? Maybe he's gonna ask me how long is actually the Muay cutscene. I was like, maybe I should look that up. No, he's not probably not gonna ask me that. And I was like, what? Bruh.
Dude.
This is crazy.
That's so funny. Great minds think alike. So
I guess.
the
Is it like
the Muay cutscene is about 31 seconds long.
I would have guessed 25.
Yeah.
So
it's long, dude. I just want to thank Spitle for taking the time to talk to me about a bunch of different stuff. We covered a lot of really interesting topics, especially in speedrunning. But I hope that you guys know a little bit more about this guy right here after that. So, obviously, our information will be underneath our names, but I'll also link his information in the description. We'll have timestamps for this if you don't want to watch the whole thing. But I really, really appreciate anyone who clicked on this video. This is something that I'm really, really enjoying doing, and we have some good people coming up as well. If there's anyone that you want to see on the show in the future, please let them know or let me know. That's always great. I have some good ideas for people who I think would make a good candidate to be on the show. But Spittle, is there anything you want to say to the people to peace out with?
I mean, if you want to like watch me doing runs or actually getting the sub 2 or pushing
Yeah,
for
he's
a good
pushing
time
sub 2,
MST.
man. MST.
Yeah. So and after sub 2 I'm going to continue. I'm not done with sub 2. I actually want to get a good time, maybe even world record. Maybe I'm going to push for that. Now I have like a lot of time since my school is over, as I said earlier. So yeah, I'm just trying to improve in that. And after MST I'm probably gonna do a little bit of Hundo too. Hundo no SRM.
Oh, I'd love to see that. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite titles to watch.
I never did a Hundo playthrough, so I could like. I mean, I know every Galtala and everything, so it would be not much of like looking up stuff because I just know. But I could like jokingly or half jokingly just do a playthrough on stream.
Yeah, I mean, I would watch that.
It would be pretty funny.
Yeah, that'd
actually,
be cool.
Without glitches.
Casual Spittle.
But yeah, I guess that's all. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was great.
Absolutely.